Welcome back, Mere Mortals, to another edition of the Mere Mortals podcast. We got Meanderings on today. I am one half of the Mere Mortals. Got Kyron on the other side here as well.
Yes, that is me, Kyron, the cool kid.
And we got deep conversations with a light-hearted touch and perhaps some anger as well today. So I'm going to lay out a question for you before I dive into the story. But just have a think as I'm telling the story of the last time you were either irrationally angry or when you had a low threshold to tolerate things, I guess. So I want to get your perspective on when was the last time you felt this.
Yeah, okay.
I had an experience this morning as a little bit of a story to tell and to show folks at home that I am indeed still very much a mere mortal. So I had kind of enough sleep last night. Kind of enough. Could I have gotten more? Sure. But it sort of put me in a position where I was already, my threshold for, I guess, handling things was lower than a usual day. So at the best times, it's okay. This morning, wasn't fantastic. Well, I woke up to a little mail come through mailbox. And often this happens where it's happened to me in the past where my Sony account got hacked when I used to play on the PlayStation 3.
Okay.
And I was like, meh, Sony account.
Is that a common occurrence?
I'd say it happened like maybe like once a year. Like something will say that it's been hacked, right? The Sony account definitely got hacked, which I was like, oh, that's annoying, but I'm never going to use that again, and it's okay, whatever. I'll just block it off, don't make sure nothing's connected to it. But I wake up this morning, and I get a message, and it said there was 4 failed attempts to get into my Microsoft account yesterday, but there was a successful connection from some IP in the US for this morning. And what got me worried was, hold on a moment, the password I use there, I use for other things. And it's the same email that I use for other things. So I was like, if people get a hold of that, could they get a hold of other things? So I was like, okay, shit, I better act on this. So I went in there quickly and tried to change password. Because I was like, so I'll even, I'll show you, I'll talk it through, but I'll send you some screenshots about this because I can make it happen. So Microsoft sends you a thing saying, hey, your account's been potentially hacked or potentially compromised. Does this look like you? If it doesn't, click on this button to check into it. So I click on the button and it takes me to a page of Microsoft. Guess what the page of Microsoft says?
You're the one who's trying to do the bad thing. Like you've been blocked because of suspicious activity.
That would be I would have been happy if it was that. No, the page says, this page is under maintenance. Sorry. And I was like, bro, what do you mean? So anyway, so what I ended up just doing, I was like, okay, I'm just gonna change my password.
Yeah.
That's gonna be okay. So, but I'm frustrated. I'm like, whatever. I'll go do this. I was starting to get a little bit of a rush this morning. So I'm like, all right, fine. I'll try and do that. I'll change my password. It gave me all the things being like, are you sure? Someone's changed your password. If it's you, that's fine. That's all good. But then, obviously, so my Microsoft account connects to other things. So, it's on the computer. I use my Microsoft tasks on my phone to, be able to do the notes for today and stuff like that. Mm-hmm. So I try to just go into the Notes app so I can finish off my notes. Your account's been compromised. You can't get in. You have to change your password. So I'm like, okay. So I go in, change the password through the phone, have to reprove it to it's me or whatever. So I connect it in. Okay, I get into the Notes. Then it logs me out of my normal Microsoft account on all my other things. And I went, okay, this is enough for this morning. I've at least changed it a couple of times that it's okay. But at this point I go, okay, that's frustrating, whatever. Anyway, so then I get on to the rest of the day. I went for a coffee with someone, and then I had to buy some prawns afterwards. So I need some prawns for the afternoon to have a meal, right? I'm going to go to someone's place to have a meal. So I'm like, okay, I have to buy some prawns. Now, I'm in the wrong here. I'm saying right now, I'm completely in the wrong in all this. But because I'm irrationally angry, I get myself into a bit of a workup. So I go next door to that coffee place and I go buy some prawns. And someone sent me a link being like, go buy prawns from here.
Yeah.
Go buy prawns from here. So I go there to buy 1 kilo of prawns, 1 kilo of prawns. But I need to buy the rawest that I can find. And the rawest I have is medium cooked prawns. So I'm like, okay, I'm going to buy that. So I bought them. I say, hey, I bought these ones. And they go, that's not raw. Can't use that. And I go, okay, but that's the best they had. That's a link. Okay, I have no time today to be able to find any other raw prawns. That's going to have to do. Nah, that's not good enough. Can't make that. Okay.
Is that a thing? Like you can't, why can't you just recook them?
You can. It just becomes a little bit more rubbery. So if you make them in a normal dish, then yes, they become a little bit more rubbery.
Yeah.
Look, I'm going to say it. My fault. I should have asked if there was more raw, and if there wasn't any raw ones, maybe I should have gone somewhere else. I didn't have time to go somewhere else.
Yeah.
But I go, okay, whatever. I'm irrationally angry here. So I try to fight it being like, well, that's the best we're gonna do. That's the best we're gonna get. Like, I'm already annoyed. I'm low threshold. But I go, okay, I'm gonna go to quickly the shops, to Coles. I'm gonna see if they got some raw prawns, and I'm gonna just quickly do my like own shopping while I'm there, just really, really quickly. So I go to Coles, and they do have raw prawns. So I buy 600 grams. Now, the individual needed 900 grams of prawns.
Yeah.
So I say, look, I can only get 600 grams of prawns.
Like that's all they had.
That's all they had. I got every single one they had.
Yeah.
The reply was, they look a little bit too yellowy, and I need 900 grams. At this point, like, I'm annoyed. I am irrationally angry. I'm like, I'm just going, I'm wasting my time, and I have to like rush back home to come here to go do the podcast. I haven't sorted out any of the accounts, and I'm like, and I think I spent like $70 on prawns. And I still don't have the right prawns to get tonight. So I told the individual, like, you go buy the prawns, and I'll give you the money for it. But I went, okay, now I've got $70 worth of prawns that I'm either going to give to mum and dad or eat them myself at some point, or I don't know what I'm going to do with them. But, like, I was just talking to you, like, coming in the car, and I went, man, I was really irrationally angry this morning. And it took, like, me just kind of, like, chilling and talking about something else and having a little bit of food this morning because I hadn't eaten anything. That I went, okay, I was obviously irrationally angry. Maybe there was valid points of being irrationally angry, but because of a low threshold sort of ability to handle things this morning, I was just like, man, I was making it worse, because then I would be like, oh, I'm just going to go buy whatever then, and this will work, and then obviously not checking in. So that was my little story for this morning. But what was probably the last time that you experienced something like a low threshold of tolerance of thing and just went like, nah, I'm irrationally angry about this?
Well, that's a sustained one, so that's a little bit different. But I mean, honestly, like last time I got angry was yesterday, and it was because of you. Because me, so me and Mortalites at home, do not ever give Juan your electronic equipment, because he just fucks everything up.
Is this a camera?
It's just a continual fuck up. Every time I like, so Juan took the cameras, he's doing some videography at the CrossFitorium. So he comes back, he's got all these videos and whatnot, and so whatever, that's fine. Plugs the camera. You know, it's the small things, like you won't plug the cameras back in sometimes. I'll be like, all right, whatever, I'll do that. But I go into the camera, and then there's just all these sort of like blank files with nothing there. And
you know what the craziest thing is?
Try and delete it off. Can't delete it. Data error. Try and delete it off their memory card. Can't. I delete everything I can find. No. Well, there's these just mysterious files still sitting there. Just like, fucking Juan. Fuck.
You know what's weird about that?
I did get angry then.
You know what is weird about that? That the usual way that I copy things out of the camera is not like that. I usually copy them out onto my folder and not cut them out of the file.
Well, that's why it's done.
Yeah. But I don't know, this particular time, I don't know why I just thought of being like, I'll just cut them all out of the camera in one go and leave the things there. So obviously that's why it definitely fucked up.
Yeah. So like,
did you end up resetting it?
I haven't bothered to get around to it.
So it's still there.
So there's like, man. I mean, it's like, honestly, we could go the rest of our lives and it would just
and it would still be there.
It would not be too much of a hassle, because, you know, when I plug it in, I know which files I need.
True.
It's like C0027 now instead of C004. To be fair as well, like there's been mysterious weirdness anyway. I had 3 book reviews that I'd done.
And it's stuck in there because
I did the normal. No. So I did the normal stuff. I'm always really particular with these sort of things. I don't want to dick things up like you. And so, but then I just noticed it would start recording instead of from Z001, C004. But these other mystery files, they're just nowhere to be found. Like, it's like,
that's why it starts at 4.
Yeah. So
what the hell?
So like, that's a mysterious one that wasn't too annoying. It's just like, oh, okay, and it starts at 4 now instead of 1.
Yeah.
But you know, your one is like, every time I go into the camera, I'll have to press another button to go down to check the thing. Like, honestly, it's not a big deal, and I was pissed off for, you know, all of 10 seconds where I just was doing these things. It didn't work out, and I knew, like, here's an extra probably like half an hour effort I got to spend to fix this shit.
To figure this out.
And so I had something in my hand. I just was like, fuck, threw it down on the bed. Fucking one. A sustained one though, that would just be like a bad day, honestly. Like, I just wake up on the wrong side of the bed. Like, one of those ones where there's no rhyme nor reason for it. It's just, you wake up in a bad mood, you you for whatever reason your Zen practice or the normal things you do to
going out the window
it just doesn't work that day, and the day just progressively gets worse until
so here's my ultimate, I guess, the ultimate question. So I'm sort of slightly out of it, and I went, okay, for other mere mortals out there, what would be a suggestion you would give that if you were in that sort of state, what would you do? What would you try and do? Because for me, I went, actually, probably the best way to kind of
not spend money. I think spending $700 on prawns would piss me off.
What I would say, I would be to be introspective, I'd be like talk about it to somebody else and call yourself out on the actual bullshit you're doing.
Yeah.
So I was I think that worked for me, being okay, if I just say actually, I know I'm being retarded about this.
Acknowledge a problem.
But I'm being...
Yeah, for me, I think it would... I'm not sure that would help. I usually don't like other people commenting or trying to help me solve my problems. It's usually why don't you... why don't you just do
this or do that?
Take 5 minutes for yourself, or why don't you do this? It's you didn't think I fucking thought of that, you dickhead? No, so for me that doesn't usually work. I think sort of distracting yourself is honestly probably the best way. Just try and do something completely different and just hope that your brain gets out of the funk it's in.
Yeah, so I'd either say, well, what I'm trying, so this is in the moment, both talk about it and be okay, I can know that I'm being angry for a dumb reason, so try to kick yourself out of it. But I think that also the trying to focus less on yourself and be okay, for me, I was okay, I'll make sure I can give these prawns to mum and dad and be let's give it to them, and maybe suggest how they could have them, or a meal or something like that. Cool. Because I'm not gonna eat now 1.6 kilos of prawns I got at home right now, so that's not gonna get eaten. So just give them away, be nice about it, try to make something good out of that situation. But yeah,
gotcha.
Goddamn this morning, man.
No,
Microsoft account, goddamn. What's going on?
That's the real annoying one, because that's the unsolved problem that it's that problem waiting for you that you gotta fix.
I really hate that too. Unresolved problems, the ones where you can kind of actively have some ways to do it, but you got to do other stuff. Yeah. I was
well, you solve this by actually not even having a Microsoft account.
Yeah, I'm getting rid of them. I'm just gonna get...
No, so I think I have...
Google Sheets.
I have an Outlook, but I haven't...
See, I don't even use Outlook.
Yeah, okay, so for me, I haven't paid for Word or Excel or anything for a couple of years now, just because I can get by using other stuff.
I can't say that I use most of the rest of the products.
Oh yeah, PowerPoint.
Yeah, I don't use PowerPoint. Sometimes I will use it for really random occurrence, but not a lot.
Yeah, agreed. Well, all right, let's talk about something a bit more fun then. So you were asking me, was it yesterday or the day before? What's getting you excited? I think it was 2 days ago.
2 days ago.
Asking me this, and I had a couple of things that I was mentioning. It's really cool to see my brother kind of progressing into what I would say is a new phase in his life. That's pretty exciting seeing that. Obviously, all the crypto and podcasts is general base level of excitement, but there's one project I actually found on the Cardano ecosystem, and it's crypto, but it's more of it's deeper in. It's not the usual one. So I wanted to highlight that, and it's called Empowa. EMPOWA.
Okay.
Empowa.
Okay.
And basically, these guys are trying to solve the backlog of homes in Africa that aren't being built. And so, if you had to guess, how many homes would need to be built in all of Africa to sort of house
all the families, everyone?
Yeah. Or what's the rough guesstimate of how many homes are lacking there?
I'd say 1.7 million.
Okay, 50 million.
Fuck, what?
50 million homes.
Whoa.
So these guys...
That's a lot.
Yeah, these guys are trying to solve the backlog of this problem. Okay. And the questions you might think are... here, there's fun. I'll just keep asking you questions. Why is there this lack of 50 million homes, do you think? What would be the one or two principal causes behind this?
I'm going to say lack of money and maybe floods.
Okay. Yeah. So they are saying basically, and this was a guy who I believe, he's South African. So I think the main guy is South African. There's also an Australian who's part of this team. And I found all of this through the Learn Cardano podcast with Pete. Had a chat with them. And he was saying it's not demand. Like, there's plenty of demand. There's, 50 million, essentially 50 million
People
families.
Want them, yeah.
And well, I mean, you might be saying, oh, maybe they're just content living where they are. No, they want homes.
Yeah.
So it's not the demand side of things. It's not particularly the supply side of things either. Like, people want to build it. There's enough materials. There is the structures. There's enough, like, base materials and people who would be willing and
do them. Okay.
It's not a labor shortage either. It's nothing like that. So the supply side of things is also okay. What he's saying, it's the financial structures behind this. There's just really no ability for your average middle-low income worker to be able to afford a house. And so why would this be? How much do you think interest payments would be in general in South Africa? Sorry, not in all of Africa. So Mozambique, Namibia, Ethiopia.
I'm assuming it's high.
Yes. How high though, do you think?
Like in percentage-wise?
Yeah, in percentage.
I'm going to say 17%.
Okay, so the number they were commonly saying was minimum of 20%, but getting up to 35% in certain cases. So
that's nuts.
Yeah, it's impossible.
Yeah.
You imagine trying to do that here in Australia.
No, you would.
Or anywhere else in the world. And that's one of the reasons why. Now, why is that? There's reasons due to people sort of working gig economy type things, so they're just trying to get whatever they can there. Obviously, the risk factor of foreign capital coming in is like, there's a big risk in Africa. There could be a revolution. There could be whatever. Where we're gonna to justify the capital putting in, we're gonna charge higher, and then there's all the corruption and things like that, which also occur. How many mortgages do you think? And so, just to highlight how bad this problem is, in Mozambique, a country of approximately 32 million people, how many mortgages are there in the entire country?
Okay, so I'm going to lean towards that. There's a high amount of mortgages.
Okay.
I'm going to lean towards high amount of mortgages. I'm just going to say 500,000 mortgages.
There's 600.
600,000?
No, 600.
Oh, 600?
600 mortgages in the entire country. So there's only 600 people who have been able to get a mortgage to buy it. And this is because of the high interest rates that people just simply cannot afford to get a house. So
600?
Yeah. So this is... There's a huge...
0.001%?
There'd be a lot of zeros on the end of that.
Yeah.
So they've been explaining all these facts, and basically they were like, look, we want to provide affordable housing. That's our main goal. We want to solve this problem of homes, and we think we're in the position to do this using the decentralized nature of the cryptocurrency, and in particular Cardano. And the reason for Cardano in particular is one, the founder himself, Charles Hoskins, has been very adamant about Africa as the future. Yep. And then two, one of the main selling points was Atala Prism, or one of the things they were saying was, look, we want a decentralized identity system. So to be able to have an identity, and then this is why they're saying, okay, we can overcome all the poor financial structures that are in place. The bank's charging you out the arse to be able to get a loan. We can somewhat solve this through the cryptocurrency of Cardano, and then we'll come up with sort of techniques to empower people to be able to afford a house. So here's a couple of random facts that I've gotten from them. It costs about $10,000 US to build a house there. So it's not extravagant amounts. Land-wise, I'm not sure how much it costs, but I have the feeling like land isn't much of an issue.
Yeah.
It's
I wouldn't imagine it'd be very costly.
Yeah. So there's a lot of urbanization going on. Africans are moving into the cities as sort of what happens in developing countries. And the basics, what they're trying to do is it's a lease to own sort of program. So the person will lease out the house, and every payment they're making is to eventually own it. So, the typical mortgage, I guess, you're paying off the interest to be able to gradually
own the asset.
Own the asset yourself. And how they'll do this is where it gets into like tokenomics and things. So I probably won't get too deep into it, but basically, like, you buy some tokens. This helps to transfer like actual funds to the people on the ground to be able to buy the materials necessary and whatnot to build the place. The Empowa team is a small team, and what they're not trying to be the actual developers. They're trying to get developers on board with their program so that they can get funding for the developers. So they're sort of like the conduit. They're not saying
they just want to be like the linking of funds to the developers.
Essentially,
like, hey, because here's a way you can do this without having to go to a bank and blah.
Each city, each municipality is going to have, you know, different types of wood that's available, or cement, or contractors. Like, they're not trying to like dive deep into the weeds. They're just saying,
sure,
we just want to partner with legit people who are good developers, build these, you know, rather by Australian standards, you say they're a small house, and relatively uninteresting. They're very blockish. There's maybe, I think, like two bedrooms, a kitchen, and whatnot. You know, it's the sort of basics, I guess. But for an African owning their own home,
who doesn't have a home,
it's like, wow, this is the coolest thing out. And I've just been diving into this, and sort of like, you know, trying to find out how legit is it, like how, because this is, I guess, the problem with charities and things like this. I was going to say,
where do they get their profits from?
Yeah, so theirs would be, I think it's. They made a real critical point at the start, which is like, look, if you want to get involved with this, don't come to us looking for a quick buck, or even to make particularly money on it. This is more of like, it's not a charity, because there is an incentive structure for you to sort of like help these people develop. These, and then Africans can start paying the rent on that, and you get a portion of that rent if you sort of go down the full connecting steps. And this is why I don't particularly want to explain the tokenomics.
Sure,
I'm still trying to.
There'll be some details in there.
I'm trying to understand it myself.
But there's some structure in, like, there is a benefit back to Empowa and people who are utilizing it.
Yeah.
Sure. But it's tied to like it being successful in terms of giving people houses.
Yeah. Essentially, it's like, look, there's no guarantee you're going to make your money back on this, but, you know, we're going to try our best to do something which is, you know, good for the world, I guess. So for me, I'm sort of almost looking like it as a charity. You know, if I put some money in, I don't ever expect to see that again. But I think it's looking pretty legit from what I can tell so far. So I've been doing a lot of research, just trying to look at, you know, the people they're sort of subcontracting with. What type of people are they like? How do they present themselves? And things like this. So that's one thing that's actually gotten me quite excited in the past. Not podcasting 2.0 excited when I was finding that, but pretty excited. I'm like,
what would be your excitement levels right now about podcasting 2.0 compared to when you were at the peak of excitement for podcasting? I
think
2.0?
I've gone, so like peak was, let's just say 98%. This was me like listening to exclusively this podcast as rapidly as I could over the process of 3 weeks to catch up. Then there was probably like, you know, this dipped down a little bit, but it would still be high levels when we were first getting boostergrams. When, you know, I was starting to have Dave and Adam on the show and things like that. Like, there'd be these levels. I think there was a bit of a dip for a bit where it was sort of got caught up in the weeds with not much was really happening. And now it's ramping back up again because there's it's getting so easier for the podcaster to be able to get the boostergram messages, which is, you know, one of the things that dragged me in the first. That was like, holy shit.
The boostergrams coming through.
What is this way of connecting with people? Like, this is the good stuff right here. This is the money. But it was extremely painful to get it sorted.
Yeah.
Now if you go into Fountain, and I'll just tell you, like, if you download the Fountain app, you find your own podcast, you click on claim or the lightning bolt, you claim it, you put in your email, which is connected to the feed, bam, you're set up for boostergrams. You don't need to do anything more.
Easy.
Nothing to do with nodes.
Isn't that amazing?
You don't have to add in Satoshis. You don't have to even touch Bitcoin. yet you'll be able to receive messages sent by your supporters with a bit of Bitcoin attached to it.
It's amazing. It's actually how much it's progressed, especially, Fountain, so shout out to Fountain. But the way it's progressed to now, comparatively to where we started talking about it just a few months ago, man. I think what gets me excited, I was talking to someone about this morning, just, they sort of asked us like, oh, well, where do you see the podcast going? And so how do you see it sort of interacting with Podcast 2.0? Because, a year ago, we were doing like a podcast a day. Like we were doing podcasts. Now we're down to like, 3 podcasts a week, give or take, right?
Roughly.
So, but for me, still, I kind of hold to it of being like, I'm excited for Podcasting 2.0 and what is going to come in fruition. But I still see it like, it's like 3 years away, type of thing. So I was like, in my mind, we're going to keep on doing this podcast in like the most sustainable way that we can, in being like it being fun, but that, in 3 years' time and 4 years' time, when that starts picking up, we're still in the space, just like working through, going through it, always being there. And then when it starts picking up, it's like, okay, just knowing when to go really hard into it and be like, okay, bear the fruits of having worked all the time.
Yeah, that's true. There's the small things as well that keep you encouraged. A person on YouTube commented, "Lol, you included the location, recorded in the location of Pernus." And I was just like, thank you. Thank you. I
noticed that too.
I've been putting a funny location or like a location related to the topic on every single, basically every YouTube video.
Let's just say that's like 300 videos that have something like
Probably,
that.
yeah. And that was the first person to, give me some props for that. So I was like, yes, thankfully, thank you. Someone finally noticed. So yeah, small.
Imagine if this podcast, obviously the video format, folks, but if someone commented on this podcast being like, "Where's the toys?" I'd be like, "Oh, damn!"
That would be pretty cool. That would be pretty cool. And I used to put in the ID3 tags for really older episodes. I would say from probably episodes 50 through to 150, something like that. 50 through to 200, maybe.
Yeah.
I would put in. You could go into sort of like the metadata of the audio file, and I would put in for the language, like if we were talking about Spanish, I'd be like Juanis or something like, sexy monks or something if we were talking about the sexy Buddhist monks or something like that. Look, so I'd put in like a funny thing there. How that anyone would ever find that, they would have to be a super nerd going into it, but maybe one day.
This was going to say, so just reading Steve Jobs' autobiography by, let's get his name. I think Walter Isaacson, I'm pretty sure that's what it is. In any case, the Steve Jobs was always so like indignant and I guess perfectionist that he wanted to make sure that things were like looked great, aesthetically pleasing, even if it was inside the case. Like even if it was the actual circuitry itself, it had to look beautiful. But and I believe it was for the first Macintosh in the inside of the casing when they were finally finished, because there was like a lot of conversations about like just minute things. They all signed, like the Macintosh team signed their names with Steve Jobs putting his name like in the middle, and they printed that on the inside of the like the box itself, so that nobody would really know unless you opened it up and like hammered it out and saw it, but they know. So I think it's one of those things where it's like we know when you put in the metadata in there, it's like there's some funny stuff in there. Like maybe someone would find it, maybe someone doesn't, but there's some slight enjoyment to knowing there's like that level of data in there.
Imagine if one of the dudes had an ugly ass signature, like just a really gross looking signature, and Steve Jobs like
fuck off, get out of this
fires him like, get out of here with this bullshit. Get a new signature or you're fired.
Maybe.
What else you got for me, Juan?
I don't have anything else actually. Apart from being infuriated this morning.
Yeah, okay.
Oh, I'm feeling better now.
That's good. I think the podcast helps for that. I'm not sure there's been a time...
That's what I mean. Sometimes like, just conversing about other things as well sometimes helps, because you can be like, there's more to life. There's other topics you can get onto. That's fine.
I'd say there's maybe been like 5 podcasts where one or both of us have been in a bad mood, and it's become slightly antagonistic towards us. Like, not even bad, but like I watch it afterwards.
You might challenge more.
Yeah.
You might be like, no,
and it might be in a more like a harsh sort of way. But for the most part, I think we're pretty like coming here and doing it makes it.
I like the being outside as well. I think it does help. It just kind of like zens you out a little bit.
Yeah, for sure. I've got I wanted to actually research the name of this, but I forgot to do it. But I was getting... Brendan the other day was obsessed with a potato on a stick. So he's seen all these people with potatoes on a stick around.
Oh, like the swirls?
Yeah, like the curly one. Yeah. So
tornadoes. Potato tornadoes.
On the food truck over there, it says potato twisters. Is what it says.
I call them tornadoes. But I'll let it slide for twisters.
I always call it potato on a stick. Like,
well, that's what it is.
That's what it is.
Literal, yep, good.
And so for those who don't know, it's essentially a potato that's sort of been, I guess, like, put through... I don't know how... You know how you, like, drill something and, like, shavings will fly off, or you'll get, like, this cool little curled up helix pattern. I don't know how to describe it.
It'd be hard to describe.
That's what happens to your potato the way they create it. So there's a stick, a kebab stick going through it, and your potato is twirled around it. They deep fry it. Then potato on a stick. It's pretty easy.
Stick, yeah.
And
there's going to be some people in some parts of the world who are going to listen to that and be like, what?
You bloody Australians. Yeah. So he saw all these people walking around here with them, and he's like, damn, man, I really want to try that.
Yeah,
like, okay. We'll do it. First day we go there, was closing up just as we got there. That was probably the day Brendan was in an uncontrollable rage. Like that was his moment. We go there the next day, or not the next day, the next week. And so he finally buys his potato on a stick.
Yeah, he got some potato on a stick.
Goes, chats to the lady who we have now named Potatina. Potatina.
Okay.
And we're chatting with Potatina, and she's like, what salt would you like? And then she mentions
points
above,
all the different ones.
And there's 7 different types of salt.
Yep.
There's chicken salt, plain salt, sea salt, sweet, sour and chili, sour cream
salt.
and chili, garlic. Whatever salt you want, we got it. And Brendan's like, I've got, man, I really do like chicken salt, but that sour cream and chili is sounding good.
Sounds like a good choice.
And he made a decision, and we were chatting afterwards. So I was like, so what'd you actually do? And he's like, I combined the two. And he combined the two because he was worried that if he chose one or the other, or even half and half, that he would have made a mistake, and then he would be angry with himself, and he'd feel regret over it. Mm-hmm. And I said, why didn't you ask for like a third, so you could get a third chicken, a third sour cream and chili, and then a third of the mix.
Sure.
And he's like, no, that's ridiculous, don't be an idiot. But I thought it was really funny that he was telling me about this while he's like eating this thing, and he's like, man, this is the most delicious thing ever.
Yeah.
But he was saying that he made his decision based on how much regret he would feel. And so I don't know if you've heard of this before. I remember Sam Harris talking about it, which was anticipatory regret. So you make a decision, and it's almost like you make the decision for a negative reason. You're like, it's almost like a compromise. I'm going to make this decision because I think I might feel bad. And I just found it hilarious that, 5 minutes beforehand, he's like, I'm going to make this decision to buy a potato on a stick. This is going to be awesome. Like, there's no downsides here. And yet afterwards, he's talking about it like, man, it was a really tough decision. Like, I didn't know what to do. Like, it was, it like introduced stress into his life, and he made a decision to dampen down negative feelings, whereas 5 minutes before it was a decision to make himself better.
Yeah.
And I just found that really funny. I was like, how often do I do that in my life? Would you do that in your life, do you think? Where you make a decision where it's like, this is to minimize
the least bad.
Yeah.
It's like you only look at it and like, this is the least bad thing I could do right now.
Essentially, yeah.
But it's like the option might be like to get a coffee or to get a nice coffee. Like maybe for me it'd be like, they're both good, but you go, what's going to be the least bad because whatever.
Yeah.
I think there could be a time and place for that sort of thinking, especially when you want to try to be like more tempered as opposed to like be less optimistic, I guess, or be more tempered about a particular choice that you might be too excited about. But I wouldn't enjoy doing that for a lot of things, especially when you just want it to be like things you don't want to bring stress into your life about, or there's just something that you want to be joyous about, like eating a potato on a stick.
Yeah.
I just want to focus on eating the potato.
Such a simple thing, and yet it became
like oh man, what's going to be the least bad I can do here?
Yeah. There was a Sam Harris thing related to this. I think it's Taming the Mind is what it's a conversation with Dan Harris, and that was where he was talking about 10% happier, so ways to... and there was, just at least when I quickly searched now, there was something about anticipation of the future and making decisions. So if you want to learn more about it, I think that's the
then listen to Sam Harris talking to Dan Harris about it. Yeah, 100%.
The last one I wanted to bring up quickly was, I believe it's called Aphantasia.
Aphantasia.
Shit, that's not what I wanted. All right, well, I'll look up the name. It's something close to that, or aphantasia maybe. When you close your eyes and you picture an apple, what do you see?
I see an apple that is red, and I would see it in 2D.
Okay, so you answered my question in a, like the normal sort of way that I thought you would, but I guess the question behind that is, did you actually see the apple in your mind's eye? Could you see an actual formation, a form of the apple in the blankness when you were looking?
I would say kind of like seeing like a piece of paper, like on something, like on a 2D.
Okay.
On the blackness.
But there was something there, like
something there. Yeah.
Okay. So what I found fascinating, it was just on Reddit, and I came across this thing, it's called something like Aphantasia.
Okay.
There'll be a
So it's
a word
not a person,
on the screen.
It's like an actual
it's a
terminology of it.
It's a terminology for how the brain works in different people.
Okay.
But when I do it, I can't see anything. Like it's black. There is never a formation of an image or anything like that, and it can be related to anything. It can be a topic, it can be a noun, a plant, an animal, an idea, an emotion. I will never see a physical substantiation of something in my brain. It's always black there. And there was all these people on Reddit being like, whoa, what the fuck, you can't see anything? And then vice versa, which was like, whoa, what the fuck?
It's always,
you can see something?
You can see something, yeah.
And I just thought that was pretty, like a totally wild thing. I'd gone through my whole life never knowing that
some
people can actually physically, like, physically is not the right word, but they can mentally see an image in their head. And it just blew me away. It just went, whoa, I've never even thought that was a thing that was possible. And then there was others saying, whoa, what's it like being in there?
That's interesting.
Not seeing that.
Although I would say that while I can depict the apple in my mind's eye okay, it's not the equivalent of seeing an apple in real life.
Of course.
It's like, I don't know, it's I guess it's one of those, like, like an electron, like, you can either pinpoint its exact location or its velocity, but not really both at the same time.
Yeah.
It's like if I look at the apple in my mind's eye from a broad perspective, I can kind of see the shape and what the generalness of the apple is, but it's kind of like maybe fuzzy, or the normal definitions of the structure of an apple are missing. But if I zoom in, I guess, if you want to call it, for like, I want to see the particular crispness of the edges of the apple, then I can kind of picture that better, but then I lose picture of the entire apple itself.
Yeah.
So I can't have like a very clear, crisp view of the apple in my mind's eye. Like I can't do that like I would in real life, I guess.
Yeah. For me, there's.
I didn't know people couldn't have. I didn't know people would see just darkness.
Yeah. I mean, that's what it's like being Karen, man. You're just continually living in darkness.
Damn.
Yeah, I can't find the bloody name for this. Oh well. Anyway, that's.
We'll pull it up. We'll put it up in the show notes. Awesome, man. No, it's cool. I did not know that at all.
It's wild, man. There's some wild people out in this world.
All right, Immortalites, we're gonna pause it there for today,
indeedy.
for the meandering session. Folks, have you been irrationally angry? I'm sure you have. So the answer is yes. Because if you listen to this and you're a mere mortal, I'm telling you, you've been irrationally angry too.
Everyone has been that.
But my comment to you is, if you want to stop being irrationally angry, perhaps talk about it with someone, or listen to a Mere Mortals podcast, because we'll often tell you how much we suck as well, and then you'll go, okay, there's other Mere Mortals out there in this world.
Yeah, so, you only have to look at one or both of us and just be like, at least I'm not them.
Exactly, that's all you have to do.
Yeah. To do that, go through Value for Value podcast. We do appreciate your support. So the best way to get in contact with us is via our Boostergram. We see every single one of them. We already somewhat mentioned how to do that through Fountain. Well, we talked about how I can receive them, but for you to send them, you do need to upload a bit of Bitcoin onto there. So using
once that once that barrier goes,
that's still the hard part.
Once that barrier goes, it's
going to be beautiful, man.
It's going to be so beautiful. Like when it goes so easy that you don't even have to upload something, or like you don't have to purchase it. It's kind of like, oh, just I'll subscription basis or something.
Like when it gets to the point where I can just say fill up your wallet on Fountain, and people know what it is, what a wallet is, how to fill it up, with what currency, or with what crypto. Man, yeah. Well, maybe not even that. It's like, just fill it up. Put $10 on.
What I'm hoping for more is like those apps connecting through to digital wallets directly.
Yeah, exactly. Like you won't even have.
You won't even have to say upload. Just be like, it's connected to your digital wallet. That's it. Done.
Yeah. 100%. Yeah, done.
Get excited, folks. Get excited. That's a couple of years out of the way, but I reckon when it gets here.
In the meantime, though, we would appreciate if you take the extra additional steps to get there. Once you have some Lightning Bitcoin, you can upload that to Podfriend, CuraCaster,
Fountain,
Podverse, Castomatic,
plenty of
Breeze, bunch of them.
If you want some quick links as well, you can go to the Immortals website. There's just the top right. There's some handy links there, of course, that you can also go and check out if you want to do that. For now, Immortalites, we're going to leave you with that. I hope you're having a wonderful time wherever you are in the world.
In the world.
Immortals Juan out.
Karen out. Bing bong bing.